Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Applequist. We are going to continue working on our fruit bowl cartoon, our animation cartoon fruit bowl. So we are going to continue working on adding some grapes, right? Let's just keep adding some grapes. I will select the selection tool, the solid selection tool. So I'll hit V and I'll copy a grape. Control C, Control V. Oh, undo. I copied the whole thing, which kind of looks cool. If you want to just throw some stuff together, you could do that. But I want to copy the picture the way I have it. So I'm copying this one specifically. Control C, Control V. I copied that one particular grape. And then I will copy it again. Control C, Control V. I don't have to hit Control V over and over. I don't have to hit Control C over and over again. I can hit just Control V to paste after I've copied my initial grape. So I can keep changing the size of it just to make sure that every grape isn't the exact same size, because that would look fake. So I'm shrinking some of them down, moving them around. I also sent some of them backwards by hitting Control down arrow. So that will give us a little bit of variety. And remember, I want to change the lighting just in case. So I turned that one. I want the shadow at the bottom always. I want the light at the top. So just always being consistent with the light source. The light source is up here somewhere. So highlights are at the top of the fruit over on this left side. The bottom right side is the darkest part. So just keep copying and pasting grapes around. Finish up the fruit bowl. Changing the size. Remember, keep variety. Keep turning them around to make them different sizes. Always going back to change the shadow to keep it consistent. Highlight on the top, shadow on the bottom. Add another grape, move it around somewhere. This one looks particularly bright. I'll see if I can add a little more highlight to it. I wanted this one actually. So if I go closer to the highlight, I don't know why he keeps doing that one. Control C, Control V. Let's undo that. So I have multiple things of grapes. That could be one of my problems. So let's combine these two grapes into the same thing, since why not? I'm going to drag this group and put it inside of that one. And now I have one consistent group. So keep adding the grapes all around. I'm going to move on to, let's just finish up the grapes right now. Let's see. So I can put one there. I want to set it backwards. Control C, Control V, make another one. C, Control V, make another one. Send it backwards. Send it backwards, Control down arrow, and one more. So now they're starting to come together. Actually, I've got a couple here that I didn't include yet because my apple's in the way. So let's just copy those. Send it backwards, Control arrow back. They look a little too like they're overlapping, so let's change the shadow on it a little bit. Just so the lighting is not exactly the same. There, now it looks like they're not the exact same grape overlapping each other. So let's see how it looks without the background. Looks like a bunch of grapes. So let's work on our apple, our other apple. Let's check how that's going. We're going to add to our apple. We're going to add to our fruit ball by making a second apple. So we'll make an ellipse. And we will line it up on top of the apple. We'll turn down the opacity over here on the right. Want to be able to see it somewhat. Now we're going to convert to path so we can start transforming it. I'm going to hit the subselection D key, the letter D on the keyboard. Now I can start manipulating it, dragging these points of articulation wherever I want them, wherever I think they should be, however I see it. Because I'm the artist, I control what I believe that I see in the picture. Well, that's kind of a little weird. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I know there's a little indent up here that I want to get because that's very iconic. Whoop, do that. Apples sometimes have this little curve in the bend. They're not perfect circles, obviously. So I added a new point there, then I add a bend to make that kind of curve around the top. I want it to indent a little bit. If you're having trouble making this shape, just add a new point of articulation. Usually makes it easier. So now I've basically got the apple shape that I want. So let's change the color fill. Let's give it a gradient. So I am going down to linear gradient. Remember when I pull down this menu, you can't see it. I am going to linear gradient. It is the second choice right below color fill. So I want the linear gradient to be red and yellow. So I want dark to be over here, just like our shadows normally go, and light on the top. But in between that, I want to add some colors. So I'll add some red here, and I'll add some yellow here. And I'll just add random different colors of yellow. Whoop, yellow and red. I want to add mixes of yellow and red. So let's see how that looks when I turn up the opacity. Undo that. Let's see how it looks when I turn up the opacity on this. So not exactly what I want it to look like. Let's kind of adjust that. Now that's starting to look a little more apple-like. So I remember we got this dimple at the top that we want to add to. So let's just make an ellipse at the top and put it right on top there. I want it to be kind of like a flat ellipse, like that. So I'm going to turn it a little bit. And as far as this, I want to give this a radial gradient. So I'm going to go back to fills, pull down that drop menu. I want radial gradient right under linear gradient. It's the third option. And I want the center to be dark and I want the outside to be light. So basically the inverse of this. So I want, let's just undo all that. I want to give this a gradient. Center is very small right now, so let's just make this, we'll just reverse. I'll hit black over here. For this, I will hit kind of a lighter red. Not sure what's going on with that, so let's just delete it. Just gonna delete that, backspace, make a new ellipse. Undo that, make a new ellipse by hitting E. And that's got the same kind of gradient I had before, but I want to change it so it kind of looks like a black hole. So let's click on that. We will give it a radial gradient is what we want. And we don't want all these things. We don't want all these colors. So we're just going to slide them into these. When you slide them across towards there, it kind of just disappears. I believe that's the way of deleting it. So I'm going to this, sliding it right on top of it, and it should make it disappear. When you slide over it, it usually makes it disappear. So remember, we can add new points if we want. So I basically want it like that. I want it to be radiating. Actually, no, I want this to be over here. Yeah. And my biggest point is I want it to look like it's sinking. So I want this to look like it's dropping. So I drop that down. There, that's what I want it to look like. And this color I actually want to be black, I think. Yeah, that looks a little more like it's sinking. So a lot of this is just experiments, guys. Figuring out what works, what doesn't. So let's zoom out, and we also want to give it a little bit of a stem, right?